Holy I'd never seen anything like that in my life. He intentionally jumped in the water on me. I've never seen anything so crazy in my life.
In the world of extreme fishing, there's one fear that towers over all others: going into the water. Today, we're not just talking about it, we're showing you the moments that scarred these crews forever. You'll see a man swallowed by the sea during a supermoon tide, forcing his captain into a desperate gamble.
Get him out of the water now!
Throw him! Fire pretty! We got you, Spencer! Turn! Turn!
You'll learn about the one piece of gear that meant the difference between a recovery and a body bag. But the most shocking part? We'll show you the time a fisherman went overboard and his crewmates just watched. Stay tuned to find out why. When the Bering Sea collects its due. The Bering Sea is a place of profound, unforgiving contrasts. It's a source of immense wealth, a treasure chest of king crab that fuels a multi-million-dollar industry, but it's also a vast liquid cemetery. What many people overlook is that for every story of a jackpot haul, there's a ghost story whispered on the docks of Dutch Harbor. The tale of the FV Big Valley is one such story, a chilling reminder that when a man goes overboard, sometimes the ship goes with him. It began not with a splash, but with a terrifying silence. One moment, the Big Valley was on the grid, the next, it was gone. An emergency signal sliced through the airwaves, sending a jolt of pure dread through the fleet.
Just keep our eyes peeled. The more eyes looking, the better chances they have.
This wasn't just a man overboard, it was an entire vessel in danger. The first to find a sign of the crew was the vessel Stimson. They spotted a man miraculously alive, clinging to a life raft. He was one of only two who would ever be pulled from the water with a pulse. His story was a nightmare realized. He recounted being woken by the violent lurch of the ship. The Big Valley was listing hard, its bow plunging into the 37-degree water. To put it mildly, chaos erupted. In the pandemonium, 3 of his shipmates were swept into the churning sea without survival suits. In water that cold, the body's response is immediate and catastrophic. A person gasps involuntarily, often inhaling water. Blood rushes from the extremities to protect vital organs, rendering limbs useless in minutes. For those 3 men, their fate was sealed in seconds. They had no chance. The search became a grim, desperate affair. The Coast Guard and other fishing vessels scanned the horizon hoping for a miracle against the crushing odds. Soon after, a second man was found. He was in a survival suit, a beacon of hope, but as the crew pulled him aboard, the hope evaporated. He was lifeless. The suit had protected him from the immediate shock of the cold, but it couldn't save him from the sea's ultimate power. The search continued, a grim vigil under a gray sky. Hours later, a third man was spotted, also in a suit. But like the one before, he showed no vital signs.
Right, we're underneath the chopper now, right in front of the Stimson's got a guy in the water there, where they found a guy in a survival suit.
The rescue mission had become a recovery. The final toll was devastating. Captain Gary Edwards and 4 of his crew were lost, claimed by the sea. The Big Valley became a ghost ship, a permanent resident of the deep, and a stark lesson in the awesome, terrible power these fishermen confront every single day. The thing nobody tells you is how quickly a routine trip can become a final voyage. This tragedy wasn't a single man overboard, but 6. It haunts the fleet to this day. But a sinking ship is one thing. What about a man lost alone in the vast dark ocean? Lost and found in the Bering Sea. Many people are crazy about the thrill of the catch, but they often forget the human cost. When a man goes over the rail, he becomes a needle in an endless, raging haystack. The announcement that crackled over the radio was chilling. A deckhand named Sand from the 134-foot vessel Sultan was overboard, 150 miles from the nearest boat in the fleet. He was 5'10" with long black hair, wearing full rain gear. He went in while untying a pot, a routine task that turned into a life-or-death struggle in a heartbeat. The Sultan's crew had actually gotten a hold of him, a moment of incredible hope. But hope in the Bering Sea is a fragile thing. As they tried to haul him aboard, they lost their grip. He slipped back into the icy depths. Captain Jeff Weeks of the FV Billiken, listening to the radio traffic, knew what that meant. A human body soaked and in heavy gear becomes dead weight. He stated grimly that once they dropped him, he was likely gone. This is the brutal reality of a man overboard situation. Survival isn't just about staying afloat, it's a battle against physics and biology. But not all things are what they seem, and sometimes the sea gives someone a second chance. 266 miles northeast of Dutch Harbor, the FV Time Bandit wrote a different ending to this story. A deckhand named Josh was on deck chaining down a stack of crab pots, cages of steel that can weigh over 800 pounds each. The boat rolled, ice coated the rails, and in an instant Josh lost his footing and plunged into the sea. The call went out and Captain Jonathan Hillstrand spun the Time Bandit into action. Getting a massive vessel close to a tiny bobbing head in rough seas is a monumental challenge. Too close and the hull could crush him. Too far and he's out of reach. The crew on deck worked with frantic precision. They hurled a life ring, a bright orange halo of hope. It landed true. They pulled Josh, conscious but in shock, toward the boat and hauled him over the rail. He was shivering, gasping, but alive. "You guys saved my life," he managed to say, his gratitude cutting through the icy air. Later, he explained that the ice on the pots had made him lose his grip. The one thing that saved him? He was wearing his life vest. It's a simple piece of gear, often seen as a bulky inconvenience, but for Josh, it was the only thing that kept his head above water long enough for the Time Bandit to perform its miracle. Even so, the rescue had to be flawless. It took the FV Billiken's crew under 2 minutes to rescue their own man, Spencer Moore, when he was knocked overboard by a current from a supermoon tide.
Get him out of the water now! Throw him spike ready! We got you, Spencer! Stand! Stand!
They threw a ring, snagged him with a hook, and used the crane to lift him to safety. A masterclass in emergency response. His body temperature never even dropped below 98 degrees. It's a wow factor that's easy to miss. The speed of these rescues is everything. These crews drill for this, but what happens when the danger comes from a place they least expect? Breaking point on the Bering Sea. You see, we can talk about rogue waves and icy decks, but the most unpredictable element on any boat is the human mind. The strain of the job, the lack of sleep, the relentless physical labor, the isolation can push people to their limits and beyond. What many overlooked is the danger that can be found even in the supposed safety of the harbor. Deckhand Travis Laughlin found this out the hard way. While tied to the dock, a place where everyone lets their guard down, Travis took a wrong step and tumbled into the 28-degree water. The shock was instantaneous. The crew, thankfully, was right there. They pulled him out in about 3 minutes, but the damage was done. His core temperature had plummeted. He was on the verge of shock, suffering from hypothermia. The captain made it clear, even at the dock, the water is a predator. Travis came perilously close to perishing, all because of a momentary lapse in a place he thought was safe. That same danger extends to everyone on board, including those who are just there to film. In another startling moment, a camera operator focused on getting the perfect shot slipped and fell right into the sea. Again, the crew's training kicked in. A ring was thrown, a sling was attached, and the crane hoisted him back onto the deck like a piece of cargo. He was rushed to the shower to warm up, but the incident left the captain shaken. It's a reminder that on these decks, there is no room for error for anyone. The thing is, all these events, the accidents, the rescues, the tragedies, they operate under a certain logic. The sea is dangerous. Mistakes happen. But then there's the story of Freddie Mogatai, a tale so bizarre it defies all explanation. The crew of the Wizard was attempting to retrieve a walrus carcass when Freddie did the unthinkable. He started taking off his gear. To the absolute horror of his captain and crewmates, Freddie intentionally jumped into the 35-degree water. This wasn't an accident. It was a choice. His captain screamed at him, terrified that he was witnessing a man end his own journey. Hypothermia should have set in immediately. But after more than 2 minutes in the freezing water, Freddie emerged, seemingly unscathed. He climbed back on board, leaving everyone speechless. His captain called it the dumbest thing I've ever seen, a moment of reckless bravado that had no logical explanation.
Hey, what the? Freddie, don't do this to me!
If Freddie doesn't get out of the water in 60 seconds, hypothermia could set in. He could die.
And this is where the story gets really interesting for those of us watching from home. Are these men just wired differently? Is the pressure so immense that rational thought goes out the window? We see the rescues and the close calls, but are we missing a key detail about the psychological toll? It makes you wonder if these events are just isolated incidents or symptoms of a much deeper struggle that happens inside these men, far from any camera's view. The sea's dark bargain. But what if we're still not looking deep enough? We talk about human psychology and hidden motives, but fishermen are a superstitious bunch. They live by a set of unwritten rules and believe in forces that people on land have long forgotten. The thing nobody tells you is that for some of these men, the Bering Sea isn't just a body of water, it's a living, thinking entity. And sometimes it gets hungry. This isn't about science or logic. This is about the bone-deep feeling you get when you're 1,000 miles from shore surrounded by an endless, churning gray that goes down for miles. Let's go back to Freddie Mogatai's impossible jump. We called it reckless, maybe even a sign of sea madness. But there's another, far more disturbing theory whispered in the darkest corners of the Dutch harbor bars. It's the idea of a sacrifice. You see, there's an old, dark superstition, a holdover from ancient mariners, that the sea demands a price for a bountiful season. A token of respect, a life for a life. Could Freddie's leap have been a twisted personal ritual? A bargain with the sea itself, offering himself up in exchange for a safe season and full pots for his crew? It sounds crazy, but think about it. He survived. He went into 35-degree water that should have ended him in minutes, and he came out fine. For a superstitious fisherman, that wouldn't look like luck. It would look like the sea had accepted the offering and spared him. It reframes the entire event from an act of foolishness to a terrifying act of faith, and that idea opens up a whole new can of worms. What about the other men who go over? Are they all accidents? The very first man overboard of the season is considered a terrible omen. But what if it's more than that? What if it's the sea collecting its due? This line of thinking leads us to the ghost stories like that of the FV Big Valley. Those 6 men weren't just lost, they became part of the sea's lore. Veteran captains will tell you, though never on camera, that there are certain coordinates you just don't fish. Patches of water where the Big Valley went down, where the Sultan lost their deckhand. They call them dead zones or cursed grounds. They say that's where the sea is thinnest, where the ghosts of drowned fishermen are closest to the surface, waiting to pull others down to join them. Is it just superstition, or have these captains seen something out there in the fog that they can't explain? This even bleeds into a kind of paranormal conspiracy theory. Some believe in a Bering Sea Triangle, a vast unmapped region where the laws of nature seem to get twisted. A place where rogue waves appear on calm days, where GPS and compasses go haywire, and where men feel a profound sense of dread and confusion. Could it be that some of these falls aren't slips at all, but the result of a sudden, disorienting force that scrambles the mind and senses? It's a wild idea, but it's a way to make sense of the senseless, to explain why a seasoned deckhand would take a wrong step on a boat he knows better than his own home. The final and perhaps wildest theory is this. What if the thing pulling them in isn't a ghost or a curse, but something physical? Is the greatest danger the ocean itself, or the choices people make when pushed to the absolute edge? Let us know what you think below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.